bell, not by much, so down 8 points or thereabouts. We are down across the board in Europe and Asia, finishing mostly lower as well. All right, down 24, picking up a little downward momentum. Let's bring in Liz McDonald, Anthony Scaramucci, Todd Horwitz, and Mike Murphy. You know what? In honor of Stuart, let's begin with politics. And what happens, but there is a business angle, what happens if the Republicans have a brokered convention? It could happen. So what would it do to the markets? Mike, let me begin with you. Markets love clarity. A broker convention is anything but clarity.
Absolutely. It's what we've seen over the culmination of the last several months. Candidates out there fighting. And if the person who has the most votes doesn't get the nomination, I think that's a massive negative for the markets because investors will not know what's going to happen. I don't think any of us really know how that would play out. So that would be bad for the market. I hope that doesn't happen.
All right, Mooch, is there one Republican candidate in particular that the market favors, or is it anyone but Hillary?
Of those that are left, I think it would be John Kasich, but he doesn't have a path to the nomination unless there's a brokered convention. If there's a brokered convention, and let's say a person like Donald Trump has 1,100 delegates, not to the 1,237,
right,
then Ashley, I think it's a disaster for the Republican Party not to allow him to become the nominee.
Yeah.
And so my guess is that will happen. And then the big question is what will happen with Paul Ryan,
right,
and the House leadership and Mitch McConnell? Will they come around and coalesce around Donald Trump?
It'll be one big hot mess.
My prediction is they will.
Okay.
I think Trump has enough gears in the gearbox where he'll shift
through
a more regular presidential sort of gear.
All right, very quickly.
He's grinding gears right now.
He is. He's done that pretty much from the outset. Todd, very quickly to you. What about a brokered convention? Is that bad for the market?
Good morning, Ashley. I don't think anything could be worse than what's going on right now. I mean, they're acting like a bunch of 3-year-olds, the Republican National Committee, trying to get Trump out instead of supporting him. Nothing could be worse than what they're doing now. So we've already assuming a broker convention. So until they step up and say, hey, we're going to support him, that'll be the end.
All right. Well, listen, let's move on. Retail sales down despite cheap gas and home heating hasn't helped. You could say it's Hillary's nightmare. The economy clearly slowing down. And guess what? She's calling for more taxes, more government spending, and no fracking. Right, Ema?
Yeah, that's really bad. Weaker than expected retail sales. You knock out auto and gas sales. Just up 0.3%. Wow. Anemic. Furniture sales down. Electronics, food, beverages down. People are going to bars and restaurants. You know, that looks like a solid sector right now. But the fact that you're right, that the retail sales are down despite gas prices going down.
A lot of extra money in people's pockets.
Yeah, that's the issue, being chewed up by healthcare costs and possibly future higher taxes under a Clinton administration.
What do you think's going on, Mike?
I think if you look at this, though, it has a lot. We're going to look at interest rates, and I think that tells you the Fed's not going to raise rates right now. They still may in June because they're data dependent, but I think this news that we're getting out today tells you there's no reason that the Fed has to get out in front of a soaring economy because it doesn't exist. So I think they stand pat.
Yeah, we haven't even.
Why are we surprised?
What's that, Todd? Go ahead.
I said, why are we surprised that retail sales are lousy? We have lousy jobs. We have really no growth other than the balance sheets are growing, but the actual development of product is not growing here. So why are we surprised that retail sales are down? People can't spend money. They don't have it.
That's very true. Talking of which, let's move on to the coal sector. Slammed under President Obama. Now, Hillary says put coal out of business. And I guess we can expect more of this when she's in the White House, right, Mr. Scaramucci?
Yeah, listen, I think it's a terrible strategy. Just imagine what she's saying. She's going to put families and their children basically out of work or in the welfare line. So I don't like the strategy, but she likes appealing to her base. The biggest concern for Wall Street is if Secretary Clinton gets the presidency, she is a political weather vane, and her base will have been knitted from the left. She will have to get a lot of Bernie Sanders voters on her bandwagon to get the presidency.
With these kind of promises.
And so those are the sorts of policies she's going to go with. It's not going to be the third Bill Clinton term, Ashley.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Bernie Sanders amalgam.
For weather vane? Is that a
weather vane? No, I don't think so.
Why is that a?
I'm being told no. That's okay.
There
you go. It was a Murphy bell called for. All right, now let's. I mentioned oil. Earlier. Let's. So much for that production freeze, right? Saudi Arabia and Russia said not only we're not going to freeze, we're actually going to open the spigots even more. Todd, we've seen oil come down the last couple of days, and it seems like all the major producers have no interest in freezing. They're actually increasing production.
You know, I think we're going to probably come down to 34. I thought that 38 was a great spot to go to in the first place. So I think 34 is very much in the cards. It should have stopped by all rights on 34 on the way up, but I thought we'd get to 38. We did. So now on the way down, I don't really care what they do over there. It really has less of an effect. We know we've got a 100-year supply of oil right here in the United States of America, and they're going to hold back. And they're going to manipulate it themselves through here, and we're going to see a shortage of oil here on our own because that's what we always do, which is fine. They want to create buying and selling and create built-in obsolescence, and so they will do that, and we'll see it held back. Supply will be held back, and prices will rise.
They don't
but
want
right
to
now,
give up
the prices
that
are going to
market
drop.
share, do they? There's no way they're going to give that up.
It's oil-tary policy. You know, we have
policy.
We have monetary policy in the U.S. It's oil-tary. Does that get the buzzer, Michael? It does that? That's a brand new George W. Bush word. Just made that word up.
I'm waiting.